Didn't I mention I was going golfing with my boss today? Geez, don't bother me for things like that, I exclaimed frantically when I called my husband. The response I received was cold and distant. Just moments before, I had received news of our daughter's involvement in a car accident. She was reportedly taken to the hospital, and despite the urgency of the situation, my husband, who was out golfing, showed no signs of concern. "What are you talking about? She's your daughter too," I exclaimed, but his demeanor remained unchanged. "I don't care. Golfing with my boss is more important than she is," he replied. My name is Catherine, a 42-year-old homemaker living with my husband, Bob, and our daughter. Bob, 3 years my senior, works for a major company downtown. We met at a party thrown by a mutual friend, and his dedication to his job as a business person attracted me. When Bob asked me out, I was over the moon, and his proposal day felt like floating on cloud 9. After getting married, I quit my job to focus on household chores, enjoying our newly life. A year later, we were blessed with a daughter named Emily. Raising her wasn't easy, but my mother-in-law, who had lost her husband and lived alone, was always there to help, a blessing indeed. Emily is now in her sophomore year of high school, studying hard, active in school activities, and enjoying her teenage life with friends. However, a noticeable change occurred in our harmonious family life about 6 months ago. It started after a long weekend when Bob planned a trip with his colleagues. Emily and I spent the holiday just the two of us. On the last day of the holidays, Bob returned and we had dinner together as a family for the first time in a few days. During dinner, Emily nervously approached the topic of her plans after high school. She had consulted with me while Bob was away and had already decided to go to college, which I supported. However, contrary to expectations, Bob grimaced and replied dismissively, "Why should I care? Do whatever you want." Taken aback by his cold response, I unintentionally let out a gasp. Bob immediately left the table without clearing his plate, stomping off to his room as if in a bad mood. Left behind, Emily and I were puzzled by Bob's unusually distant behavior. "I wonder what got into Dad. Did I say something wrong?" Emily asked. "He's probably just tired from the trip. We'll discuss your plans another time." I tried to console her. Although Emily seemed uneasy, she accepted my explanation. However, the following day, Bob's cold attitude persisted. From that point onward, he blatantly ignored Emily, refusing to engage in any conversation with her and consistently acting indifferent. Moreover, he started spending more time away on weekends, causing a significant decrease in the time we spent together as a family. Discussing Emily's future became an impossible task given the strained atmosphere. Feeling consistently ignored and without understanding why, Emily began to resent her father. Even my attempts to mediate proved futile, and their relationship worsened. Concerned about the situation, I consulted with my mother-in-law, who had a good relationship with Bob. She even tried to scold him, but it only made Bob angrier, leading him to snap and retort with a dismissive, "Mind your own business." To make matters worse, he blamed me for discussing the issue with my mother-in-law. On the night she came over after Emily locked herself in her room, Bob yelled at me, accusing, "Why did you talk to my mom?" "Don't meddle. It's because you've been cold to Emily, isn't it? Why are you ignoring her now? You used to dote on her so much." When I mustered the courage to ask why, Bob just glared at me with annoyance and didn't provide an answer. No matter how hard I tried to mediate between the two of them, Bob's attitude remained unchanged. Time went by without knowing the reason for his sudden change, but considering the shift in behavior after his return from a long weekend trip, it's reasonable to assume that something happened during that time. Perhaps someone filled his head with nonsense. Unable to figure it out on my own, I decided to talk to my mother-in-law and investigate the reason for Bob's change. Then, one Sunday, both Bob and Emily were out since the morning. As I carried on with my usual housework at home, I received a call on the landline just before noon. It was an unknown number, and with suspicion, I picked up. To my surprise, The caller claimed to be from the police. Are you related to Emily? The officer asked. Yes, I'm her mother. Oh my God, did something happen to her? I inquired with a sinking feeling. The officer's response was unexpected. Actually, the bus Emily was on got into a traffic accident, he explained, leaving me momentarily speechless. I felt a wave of dizziness, and my hands, holding the phone, started to shake. Emily had informed me she was going to the mall with friends, and apparently she was on the bus at the time of the accident. According to the officer, a car from the opposite lane crashed into the bus, and Emily and her friend were taken to a city hospital. After hearing the details of the accident and hanging up, I was in shock and couldn't move for a while. However, I knew I had to inform Bob quickly. I rushed to call him on my cell, and after more than 20 seconds of ringing, Bob answered, grumbling, "What is it?" Ignoring his tone, I frantically conveyed what had happened to Emily. "Bob, this is serious. I just got a call from the police. The bus Emily was on got into an accident, and she's apparently been taken to the hospital," I explained, tears streaming down my face. But ignoring my panic, Bob coldly responded, "So what? What do you want me to do about it?" Seeing no signs of him being disturbed and feeling as if he couldn't care less, I got even more frustrated. "What are you saying?" "Please head to the hospital now." "I'm going to." Before I could tell him the name of the hospital, Bob cut me off, saying, Didn't I tell you I have a golf outing with my boss today? I'm staying overnight and coming back tomorrow morning. Can't help it." True, he had mentioned a golf outing a few days ago, but I was shocked by Bob's lack of concern about our daughter's accident. "How can you even say that, Bob?" "Emily is your daughter," I pleaded. Bob replied, "I don't care. Golf with my boss is more important than her. You go to the hospital on your own," before hanging up abruptly. I tried calling back immediately, but it seemed he turned off his phone. I sent a text, but given his attitude, I doubted he would reply. Even though they had been distant, Emily is his flesh and blood. How could he be so heartless? This incident completely shattered my trust in Bob, and I was certain I couldn't continue living with him. I decided on divorce, but heading to the hospital was my top priority. So, I hurriedly left home. As he had declared, Bob didn't come home that day, staying at a hotel alone because the golf course was too far away. He even took the next day off work. When Bob came home the next morning, he was surprisingly cheerful. It was hard to believe for a father whose daughter had an accident the previous day. "Hey, what happened to Emily? Is she hospitalized?" Though Bob asked about Emily's condition, his casual tone made it clear he wasn't genuinely concerned. I sat in the living room, and when Bob noticed my downcast expression, he asked about Emily. Looking up at the sky, I replied, "She's there." For some reason, Bob seemed pleased, saying, "I see. Well, that's a relief. Once Emily's funeral is over, we can get divorced right away." With that, he pulled out a piece of paper, an invoice from a lawyer specializing in divorce procedures, and thrust it in front of me. It served as both a contract for lawyer consultation and already had his signature on it. Though Bob appeared quite prepared, having already decided to divorce him, it might have saved me some hassle. "All right, I got it." I quietly agreed to the divorce. Bob didn't discuss the reason for the divorce. He just walked away to his room without saying anything else, as if he was done with me. The Bob who once cherished Emily and valued our family was gone. It was a harsh realization, but I didn't feel sad, only an increasing resentment towards him. I then called my mother-in-law and informed her about Bob's return and the lawyer's contact. Within an hour, my mother-in-law arrived at our house, and Bob returned to the living room. As soon as my mother-in-law saw Bob, she approached him with tears in her eyes, questioning, "Bob, what were you doing when your family needed you the most? I never thought you'd be this cold-hearted." Even when scolded by his mother, Bob showed no remorse, stating, "I had prior commitments. What can I do?" And it was all her making a big fuss. Looking at me with a mocking attitude, he continued, "I've been dying to get divorced. With Emily gone, I feel so relieved. Now I can leave without any regrets." Unable to tolerate it any longer, I shouted, thrusting a few pictures at Bob. The pictures depicted a man and a woman intimately together. The moment he saw them, Bob's face turned pale. The man in the pictures was unmistakably Bob. Stammering, he asked, "Where did you get these pictures?" I calmly replied, "They were taken yesterday afternoon. Weren't you supposed to be at a business golf outing? Instead, you were with a young woman. What were you up to?" Confronted, Bob averted his eyes with a frustrated look and began making excuses like, "She's just a colleague from work. We just went golfing together." I sighed in disbelief, remarking, "Golfing in such fancy clothes? I don't think so." "I already know you're cheating, so save your breath." The word cheating made Bob's face stiffen. His inability to deny it immediately was telling. But this wasn't the first time I learned of Bob's affair. Recently, he often left the house without telling me where he was going. After discussing with my mother-in-law and obtaining financial help, I had hired a private investigator. The investigation revealed that whenever he went out, he met the woman in the photos exposing his affair. His so-called business golf was a complete lie, and he probably stayed at a hotel with his lover. I had more evidence of his affair. I even have a video of you and that woman coming out of a hotel. Don't think you can get out of it, I declared. When I said that, Bob looked pleadingly at his mother, but she already knew of his infidelity and firmly shook her head in disapproval. To cheat and not even visit Emily in the hospital, and then to selfishly rejoice, thinking she's dead. "I don't know how you'll face your father," my mother-in-law said with a mix of anger and sorrow. Bob froze in shock, his mouth agape. "Wait, Isn't Emily dead?" he stammered. I explained to a bewildered Bob, "Don't jinx it. You misunderstood. She's very much alive. The injuries from the accident were just minor scratches. Emily was taken to the hospital yesterday, but she was fine and had no major injuries. The accident wasn't severe, so she came home the same day." Bob misunderstood my comment, looking up to the sky. "She's there," and assumed Emily had passed away. "Emily is on her school trip as planned. She'll be landing soon," I continued. "A school trip?" Bob was taken aback, his eyes wide. Bob, who didn't care about his daughter, had completely forgotten about Emily's school trip. The trip started today and was for 3 nights and 4 days. Emily had gone shopping for it yesterday, and the doctor had said that there wouldn't be any issues with Emily going on the school trip, so she left as scheduled this morning. When I told Bob that Emily was up in the sky, probably boarding the plane, I used those words to indirectly blame him for not worrying about our daughter. "Oh, that's what happened. Well, I'm glad Emmeline is okay. I hope she enjoys her trip," Bob said nonchalantly. "How can you say that now? You knew how much she'd been looking forward to this trip since sophomore year. But I guess you'd be just as happy if she had an accident. You probably forgot all about it," I sternly rebuked Bob, who tried to feign laughter. I didn't have a shred of affection left for him. No matter what he says in the future, I'm never going to trust Bob again. Just then, an email notification popped up on Bob's smartphone. After reading the message, Bob's body began to tremble with anger. Shoving the screen in my face, he shouted, "Hey, what the hell is this?" I looked at the screen with my mother-in-law, and it was from Emily with a concise message. "I can't consider someone who prioritizes his affair over his family as my father. I'm cutting ties with you." It was as if she was sending a message to a stranger. It seemed that Emily learned yesterday about Bob's lie about playing golf when he was actually meeting his mistress. She probably sent the email after landing. Being bluntly disowned by his 17-year-old daughter, Bob's face, which was pale just moments ago, turned a deep shade of red from shame and anger. He glared at me and began yelling, "This is all your fault. Weren't you the one who cheated first?" I was completely lost. "What are you talking about? When did I ever cheat?" I protested. "Jessica told me," Bob said. "Jessica? Who's that?" Then it hit me. The detective agency found out that Bob's mistress was named Jessica Accord. According to Bob, Jessica had filled his head with baseless lies about me when they first started their affair. She told him that I had cheated on him and that Emily was fathered by someone else. The detective agency confirmed that he began his affair 6 months ago, right when the relationship between Bob and Emily started to sour. Since Jessica works at the same company as Bob, they likely started their affair during the long weekend. Jessica had been spreading outrageous lies, saying I had cheated and had Bob raise Emily, a child fathered by another man. But Emily doesn't look or act anything like me. It's natural for me to have doubts. Both my mother-in-law and I were rendered speechless at Bob's outburst. Thinking Emily wasn't his because of Jessica's lie, he began to resent her and treated her coldly. But he didn't want to divorce because he didn't want to pay child support. However, mistaking Emily's accident for her death yesterday, he was relieved, thinking he could divorce without any complications. "You've got to be kidding me! So you believed a lie your mistress cooked up over your own family?" I shouted angrily. Bob responded with a dismissive laugh. "I don't care whether it's true or not. I'm going to divorce you and be with Jessica." Before I could retort, my mother-in-law stepped in with a stoic face. She sighed deeply as she locked eyes with Bob. I realized she was livid. "I wonder where I went wrong raising you. I'm so ashamed. Did you forget that Emily looked just like you when she was a baby? She's definitely your child," she said. "I told you, I don't care about that anymore," Bob retorted defiantly. Right then, someone knocked at the front door. I went to answer and brought the guest to the living room. Bob looked puzzled. The visitor was a man in a suit around our age. Bob rudely asked, "Who the hell are you? Are you her lover or something?" Unfazed, the man handed Bob his business card with a smile. Bob accepted the business card with disbelief. But the next moment, his eyes widened in surprise as he read, "Lawyer." Yes, he was the lawyer I had hired with the help of my mother-in-law. I had consulted him about Bob around the same time I had the detective agency investigate. I had asked him to come over yesterday, anticipating that Bob would do something rash given the situation with Emily. I suspected it had to do with Emily, and I had a feeling Bob might have done something unthinkable. I instructed Bob, "Call your mistress over right now." Bob started panicking and asked, "Why would Jessica be involved at this point?" The lawyer chimed in, "It's quite unreasonable to say she's not involved. Call her now." Bob had no comeback to that, realizing he had no way out. Reluctantly, he contacted his mistress. About 30 minutes later, a young woman arrived at the house. Jessica, in her 20s, probably took a personal day off from work just like Bob. She approached us with a disgruntled look, saying, "What's this all about? I've got nothing to do with your family issues." Despite Jessica's refusal, I informed her that I was divorcing Bob and that even if she stayed with him, he'd have to pay child support to Emily, who was about to go to college. "I have nothing to do with this," she insisted. However, the lawyer promptly responded, "We have plenty of evidence of the affair. Plus, you fed Bob some nasty lies which resulted in irreparable damage to Catherine and her family. That's defamation, and we could sue you for it." By the time the lawyer finished explaining, both Bob and Jessica had turned pale. Realizing they were out of options, not wanting a court battle, Bob agreed to pay child support properly. We went through a divorce, and later on, I heard that Bob's company found out he had been using his boss as a cover for his affairs. The whole company was appalled by the way he handled the situation, especially when they found out he pretended to be happy about his daughter's fake death. Exposing his true nature led him to resign from his position. Finding a new job proved difficult as word of Bob's misconduct spread within the industry. Although he managed to find part-time jobs, his pride got in the way, leading to constant issues with colleagues, and he quit frequently. The savings set aside for Emily's future had already been spent on his affair with Jessica. Soon after our divorce, the two broke up, and Jessica apparently quit her job too. But now that's none of my concern. Struggling, Bob turned to his mother for help but was denied. He even tried to cozy up to me and Emily, saying, "Please, I was wrong. Let's start over, the three of us." Of course, we rejected him, blocked his contacts, and moved to a new place with the help of his mother. Now his mother lives near us, and we continue to maintain a close relationship. I have no idea what became of Bob, and I never want to be involved with him again. Freed from the stress of the troubled relationship with his father, Emily has been thriving in high school. Now, as a senior, she got accepted into her first choice college. "Congratulations, Emily. You did an amazing job," I said. "Thanks, Mom. It's all because you and Grandma supported me," Emily responded, tears streaming down her face. "Since the college is commutable from our home, we plan to live together as we always have." I managed to find a job shortly after becoming a single parent and now work full-time. We have enough savings to cover Emily's tuition. I'm hoping for a bright future as we move forward, living happily with our family.
Hey, I'm Kenneth, but everyone calls me Ken. I just turned 33, and let me tell you, I've got quite a story to share. Before today's events, I didn't really believe in karma or anything spiritual. I thought it was all just in people's heads. But now, I've had a change of heart. I totally believe that what goes around comes around. And it's all because of my mean mother-in-law and her family. Well, except for my amazing wife, she's the exception. Despite growing up around all that negativity, she's still a wonderful person. Now let me tell you about the crazy stuff that happened on a sunny Wednesday morning in my house. Hey, could you come down here real quick? What's up, honey? I need to ask you something, and please don't say no. My wife gave me those adorable puppy dog eyes, and honestly, who could resist that? She explained how her mom, Georgina, was coming to town and needed a place to stay. I knew what she was getting at, and I quickly said no. "But babe, it's just for the weekend. Can't you handle having a sweet old lady around for a couple of days?" Let me tell you, that lady was anything but sweet. She was like pure evil, I kid you not. Dealing with her was like living in a horror movie. I often wonder how my wife turned out so kind despite having such a nightmare for a mother. As I started explaining why I couldn't handle having Georgina around and suggested she stay in a hotel, Kimberly started looking really sad. And like I said, I can't resist her sad face. She's got me wrapped around her finger. So reluctantly, I agreed. Kimberly was over the moon, thanking me like crazy. "Since you're being so good about this, I'll make sure she behaves too. Don't worry. Hopefully you won't even have to see each other. It'll all be smooth sailing, I promise." Well, that promise didn't last long because what happened next was totally unexpected. It was Friday afternoon, and Georgina, my mother-in-law, was about to arrive. We prepared the guest room with everything she might need and some stuff she likes, hoping it would keep her from causing drama. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Kimberly, busy in the kitchen, called out, "I think she's here, Kenny. Can you get the door, please?" I prepared myself and opened the door. Standing there was a woman with a not-so-friendly expression. It wasn't a smile. It looked more like a scowl. My mother-in-law, I greeted her. "Hello, Kenneth. Hi there. How was your trip? Are you doing okay?" I welcomed her inside, taking her stuff and doing all the host stuff without being too pushy. But I could feel my irritation building as she started her never-ending complaints. "Wow, Kenneth, the patio looks amazing. Did you do this?" "Yeah, it looks absolutely lovely. I'll need to snap some photos soon." "Oh, could you take those bags upstairs to my room, dear? And could you also make me a coffee? I'd like a caramel macchiato with whipped cream, please." Did she think this was a Starbucks? If you've ever seen A Streetcar Named Desire, you might get an idea of what Georgina was like. She acted just like Blanche, all high and mighty with a touch of fake innocence. She strutted around like she was a gift to the world. I can't stand that kind of arrogance, especially when she's being rude. Just then, Kimberly came out of the kitchen to greet her mom. "You look stunning." "Oh, come on, Kimberly, do I? You're just saying that." "Well, you do look great. It's this new diet I'm on. You should try it. You could use it, sweetheart. But not this weekend. This weekend is for relaxing. That's why I ordered my caramel macchiato. Speaking of which, Kenneth, when's my coffee going to be ready? I'm thirsty. I need something to drink right now. I might faint." "See what I have to deal with." After enjoying a delicious lunch prepared by my wonderful wife, I had to quickly Google how to make a caramel macchiato. Georgina made it her mission to point out every little flaw in the meal, followed by a quick, "It's fine. Don't worry too much" to soften the blow. But she made sure to remind us to be extra careful next time to avoid making those silly mistakes, as she called them. She seemed to enjoy talking down to us, and while I could handle it, I could see it was getting to Kimberly. I mean, how could she not be bothered? That was her mom, after all, and Kimberly didn't have a mean bone in her body. I couldn't say the same for myself, though. I'm the type who likes to get revenge when I can. Later in the afternoon, Georgina went on and on about how much she loved the house. Well, she had a unique way of expressing her love for it. Sure, my time in Bora Bora was nice, but Zanzibar was even better. The scenery was stunning and the people were lovely. This vacation won't be as fancy as those, but it's still a vacation. Maybe it'll humble me a bit, since I've been to so many fancy places. It'll be a nice change of pace, I guess. I'll be honest, I zoned out of the conversation many times, and whenever I checked back in, it was still going on. Georgina had a way of making things drag on longer than they needed to. Anyway, we spent the afternoon chatting, mostly Kimberly and Georgina. I was just there, like a decoration, making sure Kimberly was comfortable. Every now and then, I'd chime in to make it seem like I was paying attention. Around 4 p.m. that evening, things started to get a bit weird. You know, Kimberly, I've been complimenting your house ever since I got here, and I have to say, it's stunning. Thanks, Mom. We've been working hard to make it nice, and Kenny and I spent a lot of time getting ready for your visit. It's so good that I can't keep this beauty to myself. What do you mean, Mom? What are you saying? Well, you know, on my trips to places like Cancun, Fiji, or India, I always bring along some friends or family. I don't like traveling alone, especially as I'm getting older. It's become a bit of a tradition for me to have companions like Ursula or Justine. Oh, that sounds nice. How are they? It's been a while since we talked. Funny you ask, because they're actually on their way here now. You can catch up with them yourself. Kimberly nearly chokes on her coffee at this unexpected news. I would have done a spit take too if I had anything in my mouth, because I was shocked at what she just said. But I kept my cool and managed to say, Kim, let's go to the kitchen, now. We headed to the kitchen to talk about this bombshell. Please tell me she's joking, babe. I don't think she's joking, but you only told me she was coming. We only prepped for one person. I'm just as surprised as you are, babe. I didn't know anything until now, just like you. I started pacing in the kitchen. So what do? I guess we'll have to tell her we only prepped for one person, and maybe we can put the girls up in a hotel. They can come over during the day to hang out with Mom. I sighed in frustration. This was also inconvenient, wasn't it? Note the sarcasm. As much as I cared about Ursula and Justine, my aunt-in-law and sister-in-law, I wasn't keen on entertaining them all weekend. They were a bit like their mother, not as bad, but having them all around would be chaotic. We argued about it until Georgina herself showed up in the kitchen. What's the problem? I think it's a nice idea to have other family members join us for the weekend. She started pouting, and strangely, it had the same effect on Kimberly as Kimberly's pouting had on me. When she wanted to, Georgina could get her way with those puppy dog eyes. I guess Kimberly inherited that skill from her mom. Oh no, Mom, please don't be upset. It was a nice thought, but we just can't handle this sudden change, especially on such short notice. Kenny and I were thinking of putting Ursula and Justine up in a nearby hotel, and they can come over during the day. Angeline is also coming with them. So you want 4 extra people in the house? I'm sorry, Georgina, but that's not going to work. Oh, Kenny dear, don't be such a stick in the mud. Jolene has to come. She hasn't been part of the tradition, and she really wants to join in. Plus, she's your younger sister-in-law. We have to make room for her. And honestly, you're not even considered part of our real family, so it makes sense for you to leave and for the girls to stay. It's just for a couple of days after all. Mom, how can you say that? Kenny is our real family. Is he though? You're putting him above your actual sisters. That's not what I meant, Mom. The main issue is space. We're worried there won't be enough room for everyone. I'm glad you brought that up because I've come up with a solution that will please everyone. Okay, let's hear it. Okay, so here's my idea. Ursula and I can share the bed in the guest room since it's big enough, and Jolene can sleep in Kimberly's bed. There was silence. I was completely lost. I looked at my wife, and she seemed just as confused. Finally, I asked, "So you want 3 people to sleep in one bed? That's uncomfortable and inappropriate, don't you think?" "Yeah, Mom, we're adults now. It's not appropriate for me, my husband, and my sister to share a bed." Aha, I knew you'd say that, which is why I think it's best if Kenneth doesn't stay here during this time. Again, silence. At that moment, I think she finally lost it. "So you want me to leave my own house?" "Kenny, dear, don't call me that." "Kenneth, don't talk to me like that." "Kimberly, are you going to let him speak to me like that?" "Look, I don't appreciate you coming into my house and making last-minute demands. It's not fair. If you wanted a girls' trip, that would have been fine if you planned it in advance. Why didn't you just tell us what you wanted? And saying I'm not your real family was rude." "I didn't think you'd get so upset now. Honestly, you're acting childish, don't you think, Kim?" "I don't know what to say, Mom. I don't think it's fair." "Oh, you dumb people and your sensitivity. I didn't do this on purpose. It must have just slipped my mind. I'm sure you understand." I didn't quite understand, but when I looked at my wife, she was silently pleading with me. I caved in, feeling frustrated, and said, "Georgina, better communication would have been appreciated. As I said earlier, I wouldn't have minded if you ladies wanted a girls' trip for the weekend. I could have gone on a trip with the guys or worked at the orphanage. But springing this on us isn't fair. We're adults, even if you see us as your kids. You're a guest in our home, and you need to respect that." I stayed calm and politely pointed out her mistake. She scoffed, walked around, and even laughed at times, seemingly trying to avoid the embarrassment of being confronted by her sister-in-law. Nevertheless, I stood my ground. "You want to have a girls' trip and have everyone here for the weekend. Fine, you want me out of the house. That's fine too, but I'll be back after the weekend." With that, I kissed my wife on the cheek and headed to our room. Kimberly tried to reason with her mother, telling her that what she did wasn't okay and that she seriously upset me. But Georgina just laughed it off, treating me like I was overreacting. I packed some clothes in a duffel bag and left. I booked a hotel room online and headed there, but not before stopping by the orphanage where I regularly volunteered. As I mentioned before, the orphanage is called Open Arms, and I love working there. But dealing with unruly and disobedient toddlers, children, and teenagers is no easy task. As I spent the evening playing and helping out the children, I couldn't shake off the thought of how to get back at Georgina. I'm not evil, or at least I don't think I am, but I do believe in teaching people a lesson when they deserve it. I guess that's why I'm good at my job. I had a good connection with the kids, showing them both love and discipline so they wouldn't take advantage of me. We got along well, to the point where some of them could tell something was bothering me. "Ken, is everything okay?" one of them asked. "Yeah, everything's fine," I said, apologizing for losing my cool. I explained the situation to him in simple terms. He was just a kid, after all. But surprisingly, he understood and even sympathized with me. "With all due respect, Ken, your mother-in-law is crazy." "Tell me about it," I replied. "You've got to get back at her somehow, just to teach her a lesson, right?" "But how?" We thought about it for a while, but I couldn't come up with anything. Then Maverick said something that changed everything. "We could help." "What do you mean?" "We could help. If you take a handful of us kids and bring us to your house, we could ruin her weekend." I thought about it, and then it clicked. Maverick, true to his name, was an evil genius. It was a perfect plan. The kids would get a fun weekend away, and I could get back at my mother-in-law for disrespecting me. We made plans like 2 evil geniuses plotting world domination and waited until the next day to put our revenge into action. The next day, Saturday, went like this. Kimberly answered the doorbell and was surprised to see Maverick and a few other kids. "Why, hello, Kimberly, Kenny." "Oh, Maverick, hello, how are you?" Then she noticed the other kids and looked confused. "What's going on, babe?" "Oh, nothing. I thought I'd bring the kids along to join in Georgina's lovely vacation," I said as I walked into the room, followed by 5 kids aged 6 to 10. They were known as the rowdiest bunch, but they could be sweet when they wanted to be. It was when they felt disrespected that they'd let loose. I promised them ice cream if they caused chaos. "Hello, Kenneth, how are you?" "Oh, who are these lovely children?" "Good morning, Georgina. I hope you're all well." I see the rest of the gang made it. Hey Kenneth, how are you? I'm well, thank you. Who are these kids? Oh, these children. They're from the orphanage. Yes, we can see that. But why are they here? Good question. Maverick, would you like to answer that? Well, Ken told us about the lovely vacation you were having in his home. And we've never been on a vacation, so he invited us over to join in. The in-laws, who were sipping mimosas and eating croissants in the living area, gasped in horror and shared looks of disbelief. Some of the kids started grabbing food from the table: bacon, pancakes, orange juice, causing chaos. Georgina stood up and pulled me aside. What's the meaning of this? Just as Maverick said, I wanted the kids to have their own little vacation. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. How can you bring all these kids into the house? This is too much, and someone named Maverick is bound to cause trouble. This was supposed to be a relaxing weekend for me and the girls, you know this. Oh well, I'm sure you wouldn't mind. It's only for a couple of days after all. Listen, I know you're upset. No, you listen here, Georgina. I'm tired of you acting like you own the place. If you want to stay here for a vacation, that's fine, but the kids are staying too. They deserve to enjoy just as much as you do. So maybe next time you'll remember it's not nice to inconvenience others. And with that, I didn't give her a chance to respond. I walked back into the living room to see the chaos unfold. The little girl, don't you dare touch that. That's an expensive designer bag. Stop it. You little troublemakers are causing chaos. Is this what vacations are normally like? Because if so, count me out. The ladies were being harassed by the unruly children, causing chaos. You might wonder how Kimberly felt. She was in the corner snickering. She found it funny too. You might also wonder how I felt watching my house get torn apart. It was worth it to see the looks on my in-laws' faces. I didn't mind cleaning up. Maverick promised they'd help. I just wanted to witness the chaos as the prim older ladies dealt with the chaotic children. Well, everything seems in order. I'll be on my way. I'll pick up the kids tomorrow or Monday. Cheerio. And with that, I left, laughing in my hotel room. I called Kimberly and told her the kids weren't meant to bother her, just the snobby ladies. If she needed a break, she could stay with me. That day was one of the best of my life. Several years ago, I got married, and with my husband came my sister-in-law, Sophia. I hoped we could get along well, but it felt like I was the only one who wanted that. Sophia didn't seem interested in getting closer to me. Instead, she often acted like she was better than me and only cared about my money. One day, Sophia's true feelings came out during a phone call. She said coldly, "If you're looking for your bank book, forget it. I have it." Why are you surprised? Isn't your money basically mine too? So even if I spend it all, it shouldn't be a problem. I was frustrated and replied, "My money is mine. It's not yours." She just laughed and said, "Do you really believe that? That's funny." Since that incident, I believed that making peace with Sophia was impossible, and I started thinking of ways to get back at her. When I was ready to put my plan into action, my sister-in-law smugly said, "Once you marry into our family, isn't it natural to think everything you have now belongs to the family?" I was shocked and could only mumble, "That's not true." Actually, I had already bought a new car using the money from the bank account. Instead of withdrawing a large amount at once, which would raise suspicions, I carefully withdrew $3,000 multiple times using an ATM. There was no money left in the account, so Sophia could forget about it. Sophia laughed loudly, clearly feeling victorious. Seeing her in such a good mood, I decided to strike back. "Then I'll give up on the bank book and the money inside it, as you say." "What are you talking about?" she asked, confused. "You told me earlier to forget about the bank book and the money, right?" "Yes, I did. But you're the one who needs to let go. Can you guess why?" "Isn't it obvious? The bank book is in your name. Have you checked whose name is on it?" "Of course it was kept on a shelf in your house, so it must be in your name," Sophia said, sounding irritated. But I didn't back down. Her slip of the tongue was a big advantage for me now. "Sister-in-law, it seems you misunderstood something." Then I started to explain everything slowly and carefully to Sophia. "My name is Emma. Let me take you back to when I married my husband, Lucas. His family runs a metal processing business. His dad is the boss, and his mom handles office work. Lucas works hard as an employee there. It's a pretty big company with many talented people, including Lucas. I really want to support his family's business, But in the midst of all this, I noticed my mother-in-law looking exhausted. I started to wonder if the office workload was overwhelming her. So I decided to ask her directly about her health and how things were going at work. "Mom, are you okay? You seem tired." "Thank you for asking. Actually, 2 of our office staff recently quit, so I've been handling most of the work by myself," she replied. "Wow, that sounds really tough, managing everything alone," I exclaimed, surprised by the workload. As my mother-in-law explained in detail, I learned that the 2 staff members had left because they got married, and finding new people to hire was proving difficult. There also wasn't a clear plan for hiring new staff. So I decided to offer a suggestion. I have experience in administrative work. If there's any way I can help, even a little bit, I'd be happy to support. My mother-in-law's face lit up. "That would be incredibly helpful. And don't worry, we'll make sure to compensate you fairly. Thank you so much in advance." After that conversation, I started playing a more active role in my father-in-law's company. My experience in administration came in handy, and my father-in-law was grateful for my help. My husband, Lucas, was always looking out for me. He made sure I wasn't feeling too stressed balancing work and household chores. "You only have to help until we hire a new clerk. I don't want you to overwork yourself," Lucas said one day. "Thank you, Lucas. But I get along well with your mom, and compared to my previous job, the environment here is much better. So I don't plan on quitting anytime soon," I replied. Lucas respected my decision. Then, one day, my mother-in-law suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, I completely forgot to go to the post office." "That's worrying. Would you like me to go for you?" I offered kindly, and a smile brightened her face. "No need, Emma. I was planning to do some shopping anyway, so I'll go," she said, rushing off. In the short time she was gone, it felt almost planned when my sister-in-law showed up at the office. "Hey, Emma, long time no see." Sophia's voice sounded friendly. "Sophia, did you need something?" "Actually, I was just passing by and thought I'd say hi," Sophia said with a sweet smile. "I've heard rumors that she's currently working in a restaurant since she doesn't have a full-time job. But I didn't know the details about her current situation. As I was considering asking Sophia about it, she suddenly turned to me. "Emma, I'm curious. Are you getting paid for working here?" "Yes, I do get paid for the administrative work I do, but it's not a lot. I initially wanted to help out without any payment, considering my role in the family. However, my father-in-law suggested that officially hiring me and paying a salary would be better for tax and management reasons, so I went along with it. But the salary I receive is just the minimum for someone new in an admin role, so it's not much." I wasn't sure how much Sophia knew about my salary, but from her attitude, it seemed like she was expecting something. "In that case, could you share some of it with me?" Sophia asked. Surprised, I asked, "Do you mean borrow money?" "That's not what I meant. I want you to give me part of your salary," Sophia demanded. "Give you part of my salary? I don't understand. Why would I do that?" I replied, trying to understand her intentions. "Don't make me repeat myself. Just give it to me now," Sophia insisted, her expression turning serious as she approached me. Then she noticed a small safe on the table. "It's in there, isn't it?" she asked, reaching for the safe. Panicked, I blurted out, "Wait, that contains important funds for the company." "Company funds? But this is our father's company, right? So technically, that money belongs to him. There shouldn't be a problem with me borrowing some of it," Sophia argued back. But that wasn't the point. I tried to stop her, but Sophia was determined. In the end, she forced open the safe and took out some bills. "I'll be taking this," she said. "Give it back. How will I explain this to everyone?" I pleaded. "That's your problem. You'll figure it out." "Goodbye," Sophia said, whistling as she left. I stood there in shock, watching her go. I wasn't sure how much she took, but it didn't seem like a lot. I needed to check what was left. I looked at the ledger and then checked the safe. I was short $170. Sophia had taken 2 $50 bills and 3 $10 bills. My heart raced as I checked my wallet, but there were only a few $5 bills. This isn't nearly enough. What do I do? I felt frustrated and desperate. I thought about telling my mother-in-law the truth, but I hesitated because of the potential backlash from Sophia. Fear of revenge stopped me from confessing. With no solutions in sight, my mother-in-law returned from shopping. "I'm back, Emma. You look upset. Is everything all right?" she asked, showing concern for me. Mother-in-law, there's something I need to tell you. I started preparing myself to reveal what happened. You don't need to apologize. Sophia has caused trouble before. Dealing with her has been tough. I'm sorry she put you through this. I'd appreciate it if the money Sophia took could be deducted from my salary, I said. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it as her mother, but I have a small request for you. She asked me to record Sophia's voice next time she came to the office. The method was simple. Use a smartphone or digital recorder to capture the atmosphere and conversation. But why do we need to record her? I asked. Sophia is an adult now. I believe she needs to face proper consequences for what she did, my mother-in-law said. Indeed, that's true. But to make sure she doesn't repeat her mistakes, we need to show her the significance and impact of her actions, I agreed. After our conversation, I decided to always wear a voice recorder. A week later, while my mother-in-law was out, Sophia showed up at the office again. Hey, how's it going, Emma? She greeted me. Why are you here again? I asked nervously, discreetly starting the voice recorder. I'm a bit short on cash right now, so I thought I'd borrow some from you, she said. I'm definitely not lending you any money, I replied firmly. Why? You lent it to me before, didn't you? Sophia argued. That was you taking it without permission, I reminded her. But you managed to cover for it later, didn't you? She countered. I couldn't admit that I had informed my mother-in-law about what happened. If I did, Sophia would likely leave immediately, and I wouldn't be able to gather the evidence my mother-in-law requested. Thinking carefully about my response, I said, You found a way to fix the situation, didn't you? Can you lend me some money today? That's not possible, I replied firmly. You married into this family, right? As a daughter-in-law, can you go against your in-laws' wishes? Sophia's argument surprised me with its irrationality. Enough with the excuses. Give me the key to the safe. Sophia slammed the desk in anger. Just then, I heard my mother-in-law's footsteps approaching from outside. What are you doing, Sophia? My mother-in-law's voice startled Sophia. Oh, Mom. You haven't found a proper job, and now you're asking for money from your sister-in-law. Aren't you even a bit ashamed? Well. What exactly are you thinking, Sophia? Quit bothering me. I may not have a full-time job, but I'm working part-time and managing just fine. At your age, still relying on part-time work? Aren't you embarrassed? Your friends have careers, families, and you're still. It's my life, and I'll live it how I want. And I have a great partner. Sophia interrupted, clearly agitated, before storming out of the room. After she left, I felt relieved. Mother-in-law, I appreciate your understanding, I said sincerely. Don't worry. Now that Sophia knows, she must be feeling some regret. My mother-in-law reassured me with a smile. But despite her reassurance, I still felt anxious. I was worried that Sophia might return with more demands. One day, when I visited my mother-in-law's house, she showed me a piece of paper. I got an invitation to Sophia's wedding recently, she said. It was indeed a wedding invitation. The groom's name was Leo. I didn't recognize the name, but my mother-in-law seemed to know him and looked somewhat worried. Leo is actually the son of the factory manager, she explained. Huh, he's the factory manager's son. That's unexpected, I said. The factory manager was someone my father-in-law had worked closely with and highly respected. Is the factory manager discussing anything specific about his son's marriage? I asked. Well, it turns out the factory manager had no idea about the marriage and was genuinely surprised when we told him, my mother-in-law explained. I see. Well, since it's already happened, I suppose we should accept it with a congratulatory spirit. There's no point in opposing it now, my mother-in-law said, her expression already accepting the situation. After the wedding, my sister-in-law probably told my mother-in-law, see, I did find a proper groom. Congratulations, Sophia, my mother-in-law said with a smile. Are you relieved now? More importantly, what are your plans for your new life together? What's your plan for the future? When my mother-in-law asked this with a serious expression, my sister-in-law seemed to be at a loss for words. Have you decided on a new place to live yet? My mother-in-law asked. That's something we'll think about in the future, Sophia replied vaguely. I thought as much. For now, you should start by living in our apartment. We're planning to move to a new place, so you can have this house. Consider it our final support for you. If you need to, find part-time jobs and support yourself. My mother-in-law said. All right, I understand, Sophia replied, looking displeased. I was surprised by her attitude. She should have been grateful for the house she received. Most of all, I felt sorry for my mother-in-law, who seemed pained and hurt. My husband, Lucas, seemed to feel the same way and quickly suggested something to my mother-in-law. "If that's the case, why don't you come live with us?" Lucas asked. "It's okay. I've already discussed and decided on our new residence with your father," my mother-in-law replied. "Are you sure that's fine?" "Well, just until we move into the new house. Can we leave some of our belongings at your place?" Lucas asked. "Of course that's fine," my mother-in-law replied, which made me feel relieved. I thought once my sister-in-law got married, everything would be calm. But problems started soon after she moved into her new home. The day after they moved in, my mother-in-law called us early in the morning while we were getting ready for work. "Why are you calling so early, Mom? Is everything okay?" "Emma, I hate to bother you, but I need to ask something. Is Sophia with you?" My parents-in-law plan to take a short break from their house and stay in a hotel for a few days. During this time, my sister-in-law and her husband were supposed to move into their house. Some of the furniture and stuff from there were temporarily stored in our house. My mother-in-law was worried about how things were going for her daughter, so she decided to visit their house that morning to check. But when she got there, she couldn't find any sign of her daughter or her husband. "Since they helped move some stuff from our house to yours yesterday, I thought they might be staying with you." "No, they came back home." "Then where could they be? Maybe they went on their honeymoon." "That's possible. If you find out anything, please tell me." After that, she hung up. Later, I told my husband what happened, but he didn't know anything either. I didn't think I needed to do anything else. So I decided to wait quietly for my sister-in-law to contact us. But as days passed, not hearing from her became worrying. My mother-in-law started thinking about reporting her as missing to the police. While we were discussing this in the living room, she suddenly said, "I'll go get the bank book for a moment." "Why?" "I want to withdraw some money just in case. If we have to search for them, there might be expenses," she said, sounding worried. I understood her thinking ahead and stayed quiet in the room. Suddenly, I heard her shocked voice from the next room. "What? I can't find the bank book." My husband Lucas and I rushed to the adjacent room. Inside, my mother-in-law looked flustered in front of a shelf. "Did you keep your bank book here?" I asked, and she nodded rapidly, confused. "Isn't this the shelf we moved last time?" I remembered that we moved things from her house in 2 stages. First, the day after my sister-in-law's wedding, and then just a few days later, before she disappeared. The shelf in question was from the first move, but neither my husband nor I remembered touching it. Neither of us touched or checked that shelf. "But are you sure you left it here?" My husband's doubt annoyed her, and they started arguing. I stood there confused, watching them, when suddenly my phone rang. The unexpected call in this tense situation startled me. Reluctantly answering the phone, I asked, "What's wrong? You sound upset." It was my sister-in-law. Hearing her voice surprised me. Raising a hand to interrupt the argument, I said, "Sis, is that really you?" Both Lucas and my mother-in-law stopped arguing, turning to me with surprise. Turning back to the phone, I asked again, "It is you, right?" My sister-in-law's answer was short and annoyed. "Who else would it be? Where are you? We've been really worried about you." But my sister-in-law brushed off the question, saying, "It doesn't matter where I am. I have something to ask." From our conversation, it seemed she took the bank book and used the money to buy a car. That money belonged to me, she even said outright. Angry at her selfish comments, I told her everything that had happened. "Mom's bank book is missing, and it's causing a lot of trouble." "What? Mom's bank book is missing?" Sophia sounded genuinely surprised. "Whose name is on the bank book you have? Is it under my name?" Just a moment." I could hear her rummaging through things on the other end. She probably mistook my bank book for my mother-in-law's. But my mother-in-law hadn't spent much recently and hadn't realized it was missing. It had been over a week since Sophia took the bank book, so the money inside was probably already spent. After a while, a flustered voice said, "Wait, is this Mom's bank book?" "I knew it," I said quietly. Suddenly, my phone was snatched from my hand. My mother-in-law looked angry as she held my phone firmly. "Sophia, I've heard everything." "What? Mom, why?" "I was worried about you. Then I got a call from you. But how did you hear my conversation?" "Because Emma had her phone on speaker. I had put the phone on speaker so my husband and mother-in-law could hear what Sophia was saying. They heard everything, including that she used my bank book to buy a car. What were you thinking? That's so irresponsible. My mother-in-law's voice filled the room. Sophia apologized, sounding regretful. I'm really sorry. Using company funds without permission and taking someone's bank book. I messed up. Please forgive me. I'll be more careful from now on. It's too late for that. Come home now and explain. Yes, I understand. Sophia's shocked voice was interrupted by a loud thud from the background. Hey, Sophia, are you okay? My mother-in-law asked, but there was no reply. After a moment, Sophia's frantic voice came back. Help me at the convenience store parking lot. Then the call ended suddenly. We could guess what happened. Sophia might have hit the gas instead of the brake and driven the car into the store while on the call. Soon after, the police reported that Sophia's car crashed into the store. Both Sophia and her husband were in the car. Luckily, they weren't seriously hurt, but the aftermath was messy. It turned out Sophia didn't have car insurance, so they had to pay for all the repairs themselves. My in-laws were furious. They went to get Sophia right away. Sophia's husband's parents were also angry, especially his father, who manages a factory. He scolded Sophia harshly, saying, just because you're part of this family now, do you think everything should be handed to you? Those were the same words Sophia used with me. Just telling my mother-in-law wasn't the end of my plan. I made sure Sophia's father-in-law, the manager, heard a recording of the conversation too. With Sophia's own words on record, she couldn't deny anything. The manager was even tougher on them. He ordered Sophia and her husband, since you're broke, you'll work for me and hand over your earnings. After that, they had no choice but to work at the factory under strict supervision. It was the best option financially. My in-laws kept a close eye on them, both at work and at home. They worked all day and lived under scrutiny afterward. Feeling overwhelmed, Sophia eventually approached me at the factory, crying, asking for help. I'll do anything. Please forgive me. Anything? Then work sincerely and pay back what you took from us. Seeing Sophia so desperate, breaking down in front of me, was unexpected. Her state showed how worn out she was mentally. It's a moment I won't forget. Part of me thought, you deserve this, but seeing her like that, I felt a twinge of sympathy, but she brought it on herself. Changing the subject, my life took a big turn shortly after. I decided to quit my job. I heard they were hiring new staff, and I found out I was pregnant. I want to focus on my new life with my baby and make sure I get enough rest. Everyone has one or two secrets they'd rather keep hidden, and I'm no different. When I was younger, I was quite wild. Now, I'm a quiet and unassuming woman, but losing my parents at 15 sent me down a wrong path. I ended up joining a gang of troublemakers. I got some of the girls from the gang together and started our own group. Because my dad made me learn wrestling when I was a kid, I was known around town for being really strong, even stronger than the boys. My time in that world ended after I met someone special, but living that kind of life leaves some issues behind. My name is Nancy, and now I'm 35. I live as an ordinary housewife and work at a local supermarket. With my light makeup and quiet personality, no one would guess that I once wore bright makeup and rode motorcycles. Yes, I was in a gang and even led a group of girls. But then I met my husband Joshua and everything changed. It all began 10 years ago during a fight with another gang. They were always causing trouble whenever we met. One day, things got really intense. Joshua stepped in unexpectedly to help his brother, who was part of the other gang. As everyone was fighting and falling, Joshua and I were the only ones left standing. I even remember him laughing when he realized his brother wasn't even there. Despite the chaos, Joshua seemed really calm and composed. I couldn't help but notice. Hey, you're pretty cool, I said to him. Me? Really? Looking like this? You must have some strange tastes. Were you calling out for someone named Noah? Did you find him? No, it turns out my brother wasn't here. That's how our quiet chat began. Joshua's brother was a troublemaker beyond saving. Joshua even took up boxing to try and set him straight. He couldn't stand by and watch wrongdoing happen. He seemed like a guy full of fairness. As we talked more, we got closer. We started seeing each other more often, and it was clear we liked each other. But Joshua didn't like troublemakers back then. Even though we liked each other, my past in the gang held us back. Eventually, Joshua said he'd only be with me if I left the gang for good. Tired of all the pointless fights, I decided to leave the group. We started dating and got married 5 years later. The gang I used to be in got broken up by another group 2 years after I left. After marrying Joshua, I changed a lot and became a calm and graceful woman. But our peaceful life got shaken up by a certain neighbor, Joshua's sister Somia and her husband. One morning, as I was seeing Joshua off to work, the doorbell rang. Who could that be? I wondered. I'll check. Suddenly, Joshua looked surprised. Somia, he exclaimed, recognizing his sister, whom I had met once at a family dinner. Hey Joshua, we've moved in next door today. Please take care of us, she said. Hello, I'm Tommy, Somia's husband. Looking forward to getting along, he added. They started off with a rude attitude, but since Sonia was Joshua's sister, I couldn't be too confrontational. We usually got along with our in-laws, so I didn't want to start any trouble. It turns out Tony was the one who got Joshua's brother Noah into the troublemaking world. They went to the same high school and were a year younger than Joshua. Joshua turned 34 this year, so they must be 33. Somia, who's 3 years younger than Joshua, should be 31. Joshua, too bad about your brother, huh? Tony remarked. I don't care about Noah anymore. Even you. Joshua was visibly angry. His brother had passed away due to a fight. Joshua's brother and sister apparently never got along well. Somia felt ignored in favor of her brother and developed a rivalry, which eventually extended to Joshua as well. Joshua once mentioned how tough it was to deal with his sister, preferring to focus only on his brother. Unlike me, Sonia was also in a delinquent group before. Unlike her, Noah was forced into it by Tommy. Seeing his siblings change, Joshua probably felt even more determined about justice. As the three of them stared each other down, I spoke up from behind Joshua. Joshua, you need to leave for work soon. All right, he replied. Running away, Joshua. Remember, I haven't forgotten that you laid hands on me, Somia sneered. That was because you attacked Noah. All right, both of you enough. We're done here, Somia declared. With Somia's words, Joshua left for work, the issue still unresolved. But then the harassment from Somia and her husband began. About an hour after Joshua left, the doorbell rang, but nobody was there when I checked. Another hour passed, and there was a loud noise at the door, like something was being thrown. When I looked, there was a pile of cardboard boxes dumped in front of our door. What's going on? I muttered to myself. Since nobody was around, I decided to ignore it and went back inside. But then I heard a small popping sound from the balcony. I rushed over and found 3 broken eggs. We live in a corner apartment next to Somia's new place. This means the harassment likely came from her apartment since there are no neighbors on one side, and it's too high for someone from below. Angry, I decided to confront my next-door neighbors. Hey, is that you? What do you want? Showing up like this? Somia greeted me, clearly irritated. Is this your idea of a prank? Throwing eggs on our balcony? It had to be you or your husband. The angle only makes sense from your balcony. Somia glared at me and said, What? Don't be ridiculous. Do you have any proof that we did it? Making false accusations won't help. I'll call the cops. Even though she used to be in a gang, her quick resort to the police in this situation seemed odd to me. I don't have proof, but the way the eggs are scattered, they could only come from your balcony. I tried to stay calm, but Somia kept arguing back. That's weak proof. Hey Tony, the lady next door is complaining, she said to her husband. Hearing this, Tony chimed in. Hey, just because you're Joshua's wife doesn't mean you'll get any special treatment. If Sonia's reliance on the police seems second-rate, Tony's words weren't much better. He might have thought he was intimidating, but to me, it was anything but scary. I could feel my old self stirring inside me, but I didn't want to go back to my past. So I acted like a timid, unassuming woman and said quietly, Please don't raise your voice. Inside, I wanted to unleash a powerful kick to shut him up. But since meeting Joshua, I had changed for the better, and I didn't want to throw away all my progress over something like this. Seeing my reaction, they both laughed in front of me. Aha, so you're Joshua's wife. I thought you'd be something special, but you're just a boring woman. Weak. Tony was giving you too much credit. At the family dinner, you seemed like a real introvert. Just a kick won't be enough. I might have to dislocate a joint or two to calm myself down. I thought, trying to control my rising anger. Go on, leave, they told me, and then closed the door on me. I stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling frustrated. I thought about telling Joshua, but I knew Soumya and her husband would just pretend they didn't know anything. It would only lead to more trouble and stress for me, so I decided not to bother. The next day, and the day after that, the harassment from Soumya and her husband continued. It always started after Joshua left for work. Who left this garbage at our doorstep? It must be those two, I muttered as I was about to leave for work at the supermarket. The door got stuck halfway, blocked by a bag of garbage. I reluctantly took it to the disposal area and then headed to work. 5 hours later, I came home to something unbelievable. There was a cardboard box in front of the door, set up like a table. On either side of the box, there were lit candles, and in the middle, a vase with flowers. Above the door, there was a photo of me, taken who knows when, stuck there, mocking me as if I were dead. Furious, I was about to kick the cardboard away when Joshua called from behind. Nancy. Startled, I turned around to find Joshua, who had come home from work. You're an hour early. I got off work early today. What's all this? Joshua was also surprised at the sight in front of the door. We quickly cleaned up the cardboard and candles from the shared hallway and went inside. There, I told Joshua everything that had happened. So it's likely Soumya and her husband, but we don't have any proof. Even if we confront them, they'll just deny it, I said. After a moment of thought, Joshua had an idea. Let's buy cameras, one for the balcony and one for the entrance, especially hidden well at the entrance. I agreed with Joshua's suggestion. There was only so much more we could take. We immediately purchased cameras online and had them delivered to Joshua's workplace to avoid suspicion. For now, we'll just have to endure until the cameras arrive. Then we can fight back with evidence. Got it, I replied, so I dealt with Soumya's mean behavior at her house for a few days. For many people, putting up with stuff like this means not fighting back because they're scared or not strong enough. But for me, it was different. I wanted to fight back, but I held myself back. If it was okay to use force, I would have already stood up to them. It was really frustrating having the power to do something but not being able to. After 3 days, Joshua brought home some cameras. Any more trouble? The usual. Today they even threw a fish head onto the balcony. Let's put up the cameras now. We'll hide one behind the air conditioner on our balcony, aiming at Soumya's, and another near the fire extinguisher by the entrance. The next day after setting up the cameras, Soumya started being mean again. As Joshua left for work, I watched everything through a recording app. And just like clockwork, Soumya and her friends started their antics. I watched quietly and left for work when it was time. 2 hours into my shift at the supermarket, Soumya came to my register. Well, if it isn't my sister-in-law, she said. I quietly scanned Soumya's items. It was obvious from her tone that she knew it was me, and she was being really rude. Aren't you cold for a cashier? Shouldn't you be nicer? Come on, give me a discount on this. Other customers in line looked worried as they watched us. A man in the line spoke up to Soumya. Hey, can't you see she's uncomfortable? Soumya turned to him, looking angry. Shut up, it's none of your business. The man seemed defeated by Soumya's reaction and backed away, leaving the line. Then, I spoke up to Soumya for the first time. Ma'am, if you keep acting this way, I'll have to call security. I said it calmly but firmly. Maybe because others were watching, Soumya replied. Oh, it was just a joke. So disappointing. She left the store, leaving her items behind. The other customers were surprised by what happened. I was really mad when I got home from work. There was a note on the door that said, useless cashier. That's enough. I couldn't handle it anymore. I angrily tore off the note and waited nervously for Joshua to come back. When he got home, we watched the footage from the cameras. It clearly showed Soumya and her husband doing bad things. Now we can fight back, Joshua said, looking angry. Okay, let's go. When we rang Soumya's doorbell, Tommy answered. You two again. What do you want now? Soumya came up behind him, asking lazily, What's up, Joshua? We're ready to fight back, I thought as I started to speak, but Joshua stopped me and stepped forward. Nancy, let me handle this. Soumya told me if you keep bothering us, there will be consequences. Joshua's voice was firm and threatening. Tony replied, What, you want to fight? You got proof we did anything? You're just making accusations. Before Tony could finish, Joshua played the video from the recording app. This video shows what you've been doing wrong. We put up cameras because your harassment was too much. This made Sonia and Tony quiet, which was unusual for them. Sonia looked a bit worried and turned to Tony, while Tony glared back at us with a deep frown. You caught us this time, I said seriously. But remember, the trouble started from your side. Tony replied, so you want to solve this with a fight, huh? Hold on, Joshua, I'm calling someone. Call whoever you want. We'll be ready, Joshua said firmly, not backing down as things got more intense. Tommy urgently talked into the phone. William, I need help now. His tone was different from before, now begging for help. After hanging up, he turned back to us. Get ready. Willie, the toughest guy around here, is coming. He looked smug, thinking he'd win with someone else's help, but it showed he was really a coward. Why not face us yourself? I asked. Keep talking. I know your strength. This time, I brought someone special to make sure you both feel real fear, Tommy said, trying to scare us. 5 minutes later, William arrived, the guy Tommy had talked big about, but he looked surprised when he saw us. William, hey, it's been a while. Sonia and Tommy seemed excited, expecting a lot from him, but that excitement quickly faded. What's happening? Yeah, it's been a while, Will, I said, calling him Will, which left Sonia and Tommy puzzled. Joshua greeted him too. Hey Will, long time no see. The couple looked even more confused. Confused, Tommy asked, what's going on? How do you know William? Tommy looked nervous and William looked between us. I just said, Will, let's not do this, okay? Angry, Tony snapped, stop messing around. Will, do something please. Sonia and Tony were panicking, not understanding what was happening. But then Will spoke up. Hey, did you mess with Nancy? His question left them shocked for a moment. So what if we did? Tommy answered, sounding unsure. Will exploded, you idiots. Do you even know who you're dealing with? His scolding left them stunned. They clearly had no clue. Seeing this, I turned to Joshua and asked, hey, can I go back to how I was 15 years ago just for now? But instead of Joshua, it was Will who replied, Nancy, please don't. If you do something, it could get worse than just a fight. What, are you giving me orders now, Will? No, that's not what I meant, Will stuttered. Seeing the guy they called for help now apologizing to me, Sonia and Tony were confused. What's going on here? They looked scared as Will talked. Do you two know about BBN? Yeah, that's right. It's famous. It stands for Black Butterfly Nancy, right? The nickname of the former leader of a ladies' group. That's correct, and this lady here is Nancy herself. No way, really? Both of them lost their tough act instantly. Will continued. Back then, I led another group, but we got beat by Nancy's group. She could handle 30 people alone. Sonia and Tommy now looked at me with fear. It made sense. They thought they were picking on someone weaker, only to find out she was the leader of a group they used to be a part of. I didn't know Nancy was practically a legend. We joined the group 6 months after you left, Sonia said. They joined after I left. Will had been in the group with me and stayed even after I left, looking after Sonia and Tommy. He left just before a rival group took us down. By then, Tony was the leader. Before you ruined it, the group was unbeatable. You can't mess with Nancy, Will said. The group that took us down is now the strongest. But if Nancy was still around, she'd still be the strongest. Seeing Sonia and Tony crumble, Will turned to me and said, please forgive them for my sake. Watching Will apologize, Sonia and Tony seemed defeated. They never expected their call for help to go so wrong. Fine, but you owe us, I said, glaring at them. They let out a small gasp. For a month, you'll clean this apartment and our balcony since you made a mess. If you miss even one day, I won't be so nice next time. Okay, Sonia agreed, clearly intimidated. Tommy just nodded vigorously, unable to speak. Watching them, Will remarked, nobody can really challenge Nancy. Hearing this, Joshua, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. But I don't like troublemakers. If Nancy hadn't changed, I wouldn't be here. He said it softly, and I looked up at him. Don't worry, I won't let that side of me out again. At this, Will burst into laughter, and we all ended up laughing together. Will and Joshua knew each other because we met after I left the group. We ran into Will while on a date and ended up having tea together. Now that's settled. Why don't you join us for dinner, Will? The three of us left Sonia and Tommy slumped by the entrance and went to our apartment. Before going inside, Joshua added, Sonia, you're my sister, so I'll let it go this time. But there won't be a next time. Watching him, I wondered if he too had that same fighting spirit as us. From that day on, Sonia and her husband stopped bothering us. They kept their promise and cleaned our balcony and the shared areas of the apartment. Even though they were just troublemakers doing chores, other residents stopped paying them much attention after a while. After a month, Sonia and her husband left without a word. Even Joshua, their family, didn't know where they went. Maybe they felt uncomfortable staying there. We didn't bother looking for them further and thought they made a wise decision. Finally, we had our peaceful life back. Neighborhood problems are common, but I never thought I'd be so involved. At least it ended well. I have a past I'd rather not talk about. Joshua has kept it secret all this time. I'm not ashamed of everything in my past, but I've learned from my mistakes. I just want to cherish my life with Joshua now, and I hope to never show my true self to anyone again. That's all I'm thinking about now. So there's this moment where Jessica suddenly realizes something about her sister. She thinks her sister is kind of sad and unlucky, and then she gets this idea. What's the idea? Well, just wait and see. Jessica, wearing a fancy wedding dress, starts talking to everyone around. She even grabs a microphone. Then she says loudly to all the guests, does anyone want to marry my sister? She's not super smart, and she's getting older, you know? After saying this, Jessica's sister gives her a sneaky smile. But she doesn't realize how rude Jessica's words are. The room suddenly feels weird, and people start whispering. Some of them look at Jessica with disapproval. But Jessica doesn't notice any of this. She grabs the microphone again and tells her sister, come on, you have to make yourself sound better. There are lots of good-looking doctors here. Don't you get what you've done wrong? Suddenly, something big happened. A woman named Emily Nichols, who's 29 years old and works a regular job, spoke up. She's not particularly striking in looks, just ordinary. But she has one interesting thing about her. She became a lawyer after finishing middle school. Emily has a sister named Jessica, who's 2 years younger. Jessica is pretty and outgoing, so their family always favored her. Emily, unlike Jessica, isn't noticed much. She's just average in looks and style. Plus, she's not very charming, so she didn't get much love from her family or relatives. At home, she felt ignored and often got treated coldly. She couldn't compete with Jessica's natural charm, which got all the attention from their parents. Instead of love, Emily got harsh treatment. I tried really hard in school, hoping my family would notice me even just a little bit. But no matter how well I did, I could never beat my sister. Eventually, I got tired of trying so hard to be loved by my family. I decided to focus on something else instead of seeking their affection. I threw myself into studying, telling myself I'd find my own value. Studying hard made me feel more sure of myself, and I started to see good results. I hoped that one day my parents would praise me for my academic achievements, so I kept studying late into the night during middle school. I always got the highest grades in my class and did better than everyone else in tests. But my parents never praised me. Instead, they seemed disappointed if I didn't get almost perfect scores in every subject. They'd say things like, being at the top isn't enough. You need to be perfect in everything. Even if I got a 95% in a tough test, they'd still say it wasn't good enough. My mom's voice was like ice, sharp and cold. She always had something to say about my grades, making excuses feel useless. Are you trying to show off these less than perfect grades? She'd say, making me feel small. All I could do was mumble an apology. Yes, I'm sorry, I'd say quietly. No matter how hard I tried, my grades never seemed good enough for my parents. They never appreciated my efforts. If I didn't get a perfect score, they'd scold me. But what hurt more than their coldness was when my sister Jessica said seemingly innocent things. Oh, are you getting in trouble again? She'd say, barging into my room and smirking at my report card. Getting scolded even with good grades? That's sad. I get praise even for barely passing. Then she'd pretend to be concerned, saying, I thought you were feeling down. But I guess I was wrong. If you were really worried, you wouldn't talk to me like that. That was my report card, I said. See, that's your problem. You're always so standoffish. That's why Mom and Dad don't show you love. It's because of that, Jessica replied, her eyes cold and full of contempt. Even as she walked away, I could still feel her disdain. After she left, I heard her cheerful laughter with our parents from the living room. I should have been used to this by now, but I couldn't stop the sadness that welled up inside me. Tears streamed down my face. In my hand was my report card, now crumpled from my tight grip. I made a new resolve to stand on my own and escape this suffocating family environment. I decided that excelling in my studies and improving my abilities was the key to my freedom. From that moment on, I promised myself I would make it happen. I threw myself into my studies with even more determination than before. One day, as the autumn breeze blew through the classroom windows, my father made an unexpected announcement. "Emily, you will not go to high school. You need to start looking for a job immediately," he said coldly. I was shocked and didn't know what to say. "Why would you say that?" I asked, trying to hide my confusion. My father replied, "It's not worth investing more in you. If you want to go to high school, you'll have to pay for it yourself. If you can't do that, you'll have to give up." "But I'm still in middle school. I can't get a job that pays enough. How am I supposed to?" I tried to argue, but he wouldn't listen. "Then you'll just have to accept it. Your mother and I have decided to focus our finances on Jessica. We can't afford to spend more on you," he said firmly. "That's not fair." I screamed internally, but my father's decision was final. His harsh words seemed to drain all the color from my world, turning everything gray. My mother and sister watched me with unhidden smiles, clearly pleased. Now, I understand there were options to cover high school expenses, like finding schools with tuition waivers or scholarships. But back then, I didn't know about these options, and I felt devastated by the end of my educational path. From that day, my passion for learning faded quickly. The praise from my homeroom teacher, who admired my grades, felt empty. With no support for my education at home, my hopes of continuing my studies seemed impossible. After middle school, I started working at a local factory. I wasn't old enough to live on my own, so I worked hard until I turned 18. Most of my salary went to the household, and I saved the small amount I kept for myself. Those days were tough, like crawling through an endless tunnel. On my 18th birthday, I finally left that house. I left a single letter for my family and, with a firm decision in my heart, walked away from the home that was now just a memory. After I left, it was as if I never existed to my family. They didn't call or write. At first, living away from them was painful, and I felt very lonely. But over time, work kept me busy, and the loneliness faded. Living independently, the stress from home disappeared, and I felt a new sense of mental freedom. This peace of mind reignited my enthusiasm. I regained my love for learning and decided to start studying again. I began with the basics, reviewing diligently. The joy of learning filled my heart once more, and soon I was studying with ease. I moved on to high school textbooks and started reading extensively. During my reading journey, I became fascinated by books on law, which sparked a deep interest in the legal profession. Although I had only finished junior high, the idea of becoming a lawyer seemed far-fetched. But then I learned about the preliminary examination system, which opened up new possibilities for me. This system offered a chance for someone with my educational background to take the bar exam. Armed with this new information, I intensified my dedication to studying. I used every possible moment at home and during breaks at work to memorize legal terms. During lunch, I would eat while studying for the bar exam. My workplace was full of older colleagues, most around my parents' age. They noticed my efforts and came together to support me. At the age of 23, I passed the bar exam. After that, I left my long-term job at the factory and got a position at a top law firm. After about 4 years of training there, I opened my own law practice. Now, I am a legal consultant for a hospital and I feel content. Yet sometimes, I wonder how my parents would react if they knew I became a lawyer. I think about whether I would finally meet their expectations. Despite this, I have not shared anything with them. In my heart, I believe I will continue not to reach out to them. However, an unexpected reunion with my family came sooner than I anticipated. One evening after work, I came home to find a message on my phone from my younger sister Jessica saying she was getting married. "Jessica is getting married," I murmured to myself. My sister, now 27, was engaged to a doctor. The notification said her wedding was next month, and they wanted me to attend. Despite the long period of estrangement from Jessica and my parents, I hesitated to meet them. But as a family member, I couldn't ignore the significant event. So I replied that I would attend. My sister quickly responded with the exact date and location of the ceremony. Her message ended with, "Don't forget the wedding gift," which made me smile wryly. It seemed Jessica was more interested in the gift than in wholeheartedly welcoming me. I decided to use the wedding as an opportunity to reunite with the family and then part ways again. On the day of Jessica's wedding, I, Donna, carefully chose a blue dress and headed to the venue. After completing the entrance formalities, I took my seat in a family area where my father and mother were already seated. "You have some nerve showing up here. You must be doing well for yourself with the meager earnings from the factory," my father said coldly. "Indeed, you're right. Introducing someone like her as family does not do us any credit as parents," my mother added disdainfully. "Jessica shouldn't have invited someone like you," my father continued. I told them exactly that, but they insisted on receiving the celebration money regardless, my mother said quietly, right in front of me. They continued their conversation without hesitation, ignoring my presence. This was my reality. I had a faint hope that sharing my side of the story might bridge the gap between my family and me, but it was quickly shattered. Both my father and mother avoided talking to me completely. In the silence, I glanced around the venue and noticed some familiar faces on the groom's side. Haven't I seen that person somewhere before? I wondered, feeling a sense of déjà vu. As I tried to remember, I looked up the groom's name, and my suspicion turned into certainty. The connection I had anticipated became clear, and I couldn't entirely hide my surprise. It felt like a twist of fate. However, I decided to keep my emotions in check and quietly participate in the ceremony. As the program proceeded, the bride and groom made a glamorous entrance, followed by his team. Guests offered warm words and entertaining performances, softening the atmosphere. Time passed, and the banquet gradually shifted to dinner and then to photo-taking sessions. Throughout this time, my parents got up without acknowledging my presence and moved towards the front where the bride and groom awaited. Jessica, like a magnet, clung close to them, smiling happily in each photograph taken. I pretended not to feel anything and focused silently on the meal in front of me. But unexpectedly, my sister Jessica approached me. She came closer with a smile, but her eyes had a spark of something more than excitement to see her sister after so many years. It seemed like she had an ulterior motive. "Big sis, it's been such a long time, hasn't it? Are you happy to spend time together like this?" she asked lightly. I nodded quietly, expressing my genuine thoughts. "Yes, the banquet food is really wonderful," I replied with a sarcastic smile. Jessica continued, "You can't get such luxurious food at the factory you work at, can you? You should be grateful for this opportunity." Something inside me felt like it was being torn apart, but I didn't show it on my face. Jessica's words grew sharper, cutting into me with a taunting edge. "Oh dear, did I upset you? I'm sorry, but it's natural for you to be envious, isn't it? Your little sister marrying a doctor and all." The phrase "I'm sorry" slipped from her mouth flippantly, as if it were a meaningless ornament. I kept my expression unchanged and quietly waited for her next move. Then Jessica whispered in my ear, "Big sis, because I feel sorry for you, I've come up with a great idea." Despite maintaining my composure, I asked with suspicion, "A great idea? What is it?" Jessica replied with satisfaction, "You'll see, just watch closely." Adorned in her elegant wedding dress, she gathered the attention of everyone around as she received a microphone from the staff. Suddenly, she announced loudly to the guests, "Ladies and gentlemen, you may not be aware, but my sister is here. She may not have the highest education or be the youngest, but if there is anyone kind-hearted enough, could you please take her under your wing?" My face turned red in an instant. "What are you saying, Jessica?" I exclaimed, unable to hide my shock and embarrassment. Jessica continued even louder. "Although she doesn't earn much and leads a modest life, is there someone here who can brighten my sister's future?" As everyone's attention focused on me, Jessica seemed to be relishing my confusion, sporting a smug smile. Then something unbelievable happened. Jessica's disrespectful behavior escalated, and shockingly, even our usually gentle parents joined in. "Please treat her kindly." Their careless comment was the last straw for me. Rage surged inside me. How far will they go to satisfy their desire to ridicule someone? Especially at a moment of happiness? I couldn't believe it, but it was time for them to face reality. As the atmosphere in the venue shifted and murmurs grew, Jessica, unaware she was once again the center of attention, cheerfully took the microphone, calling out, Emily, look, there are so many doctors gathered here. It's your chance. I remained silent, but my solemn gaze conveyed a strong will. This is the end for you, I thought. Jessica, confused, could only respond with, heh. I approached her calmly, saying, you'll understand soon just how terrible your actions have been. As Jessica tried to make an excuse, the groom suddenly raised his voice to address the venue. Wait, please. Why are you leaving your seats? His voice captivated everyone. Looking towards him, it was clear that all his colleagues from work were standing up, heading for the exit. Even as the groom tried to stop them, a dignified man who seemed to be the hospital director spoke to him firmly. The recent remarks of the bride were so unpleasant that I'm in disbelief. I apologize, but we can no longer stay here. We will take our leave now. The groom rushed to stop the hospital director, offering to take responsibility for Jessica's words and actions. Please wait, I admit her words were inappropriate. I'll speak to her directly and ensure she undergoes a serious change in awareness. However, the hospital director explained the seriousness of the situation and revealed information about me that the groom was unaware of. The problem isn't just that. Do you know what kind of person her sister is? The groom, confused, admitted he knew nothing about me. Eh? No, I only met her sister for the first time today, and all I've heard was that she worked in a factory after graduating from middle school. The hospital director couldn't hide his irritation at the groom's ignorance. Don't be ridiculous. Her sister is a respected lawyer and also serves as the legal advisor to our hospital. The groom was shocked to learn this, indicating he had no idea I was the hospital's legal advisor. The lawyer is our hospital's advisor. Not only the groom, but also my sister, parents, and other guests were left speechless. I was contracted as the legal advisor to that hospital, which was where my sister's future husband worked. The reason the groom looked familiar was because I had seen him several times at hospital events. Other guests likely realized this too when they saw me. My sister's inappropriate comments only made things worse, prompting the hospital director to openly express his outrage. Although the groom himself is a member of the hospital's medical staff and has no direct relation to me, to the hospital director and other staff, the legal advisor is of significant importance. The groom's face turned even redder, and he stepped toward his sister, raising his voice in reproach. What on earth is this? Because of your carelessness, my reputation is now tarnished. The groom reproached Jessica, his tone filled with indignation. Jessica stumbled over her words for a moment, then defended herself like a bewildered child. It's not like that. I truly had no idea that my sister was in such a prestigious position. Growing more indignant, the groom continued to chastise Jessica for her ignorance. Ignorance is no excuse. And how can you speak so lightly and disrespectfully of your own sister? As a human being, your behavior is at the very bottom. You've truly lost sight of what's valuable. Desperately trying to elicit some understanding, Jessica pleaded, wait a minute, listen. I have a good reason. However, the groom, unwilling to hear her explanation, declared decisively, the withdrawal from the marriage itself. I have no interest in hearing your excuses. Our marriage discussion ends here. Shocked by his words, Jessica collapsed on the spot as if her soul had left her, her complexion turning deathly pale. Then, in a fit of anger, the groom and the guests disappeared from the wedding hall. As I was about to leave, I heard a desperate cry from my sister behind me. Please help me, Emily. But I didn't let her cries sway me. Confronting her with a stern tone, I said, help you, you say? Why should I do such a thing for you? The situation you're in now is the result of your own actions. Trying to get a laugh with a joke that mocks others and then playing the victim when it fails is pathetic. I can't accept it. Jessica, confused and anxious, pleaded, why are you being so harsh? If you had known about my success as a lawyer, I replied calmly but firmly, why didn't you bother to contact me? In fact, I was planning to end our relationship after this wedding, but seeing your unfortunate end, I'm somewhat satisfied. You must be disappointed that your engagement to a doctor has been called off. Well, you better work hard to find your next prospect. With those words, I left the venue with dignity. From afar, I could hear the critical voices of my sister and parents. Everything went as expected, and my sister's marriage was no more. The parents, who had believed a secure future was guaranteed through my sister marrying a doctor, expressed their anger towards her for the first time. Amidst the chaos, my sister, always pampered, couldn't bear their anger and sought solace with a broken heart. But I turned a blind eye to her pleas, devoid of sympathy. I never answered her calls, despite her repeated attempts, and I cut off all contact with the family. I heard that my sister had quit her job, now unemployed, estranged from our parents, and spending her days isolated at home. As for me, I am enjoying a very satisfying life both professionally and personally, leading a peaceful existence without major problems. Although my relationship with my family has been rocky, I am grateful for the strong support I receive from colleagues and friends. This contented life isn't just luck, it's the result of years of self-improvement and hard work. There were challenging days, but overcoming each obstacle has brought me to where I am today. Reflecting on my past struggles and their impact on my growth, I aspire to continue living a fulfilling life at my own pace, setting achievable goals while minimizing stress. It's like you're not wanted here. You should go. Even though my brother said mean things to me, my sister-in-law sitting next to me quietly squinted her eyes and smiled, enjoying my surprised face. When I looked at our mother, who I lived with for a long time, she sadly said, "Living with your brother and his wife, who went to a really good university and works at a top company, seems better than living with you, Linda. You always stay inside the house," she said calmly. My mother, sister-in-law, and brother didn't seem to realize how much I've helped with money and worked for our family. Even though it hurt, I said, "Okay, I'll go. Don't ask me for help again," and started packing my things. She watched me and sarcastically said with a smug smile, "Giving up so easily, Linda? But nobody knows who will have a harder time in the future. Ignoring this could cause problems." My name's Linda, and I've done really well with online businesses. My journey here was unexpected. Back in university, I thought I'd end up with a regular job at a typical company, but something changed everything during my second year. My dad got sick and needed someone to take care of him every day. My mom wasn't great at housework, so we hired caregivers. But they couldn't be there all the time, so my mom had to step in. Sometimes she ignored my dad's needs, telling him to wait. I had to help him out whenever this happened. Seeing this made me worry about the future. When I start working, who will take care of my dad? I couldn't rely on my mom alone. So I started looking into ways to make money from home. I studied online business stuff during university, using what I learned in economics. I teamed up with friends who knew about management and economics, and then with others who were good with computers. That's how we started our online business project. We had a nice office where staff could work if they found it hard to concentrate at home, or for new employees to learn the ropes. But personally, I hardly ever went there. My main workspace is at home, where I can be with my dad. I do most of my work there. One day, my dad asked me if I gave up on a full-time job for him, or if it was hard to find one after graduating. It made me emotional, but I explained how I've been running my online business since college. It's doing well, and I can work from home without any problems. My dad was proud of me and grateful for what I do. He said I've become a responsible adult, which meant a lot to me. I'm actually not the only child responsible for taking care of my father. I have an older brother named Tom, who's 2 years older than me. Tom tends to be selfish and doesn't often think about others. He's always been really smart and did great in school. After he graduated from a top university, he easily got a job at a really good company. When we found out about his job, we were surprised but happy for him. We all tried to reach out to congratulate him, but his response wasn't what we expected. He said he was starting a new life in the city and didn't plan to come back home. He wanted us to believe he was doing well on his own. Then he hung up the phone abruptly. Since that day, we couldn't get in touch with Tom at all. He cut off all communication with us, ignoring our calls and messages. Even though our dad had supported him financially through college and living on his own, Tom never seemed grateful and distanced himself from us. Both my dad and I felt shocked and disappointed by his behavior. We started to wonder if our mom was secretly talking to Tom. But even with Dad's health getting worse and needing care every day, Tom's complete silence showed he didn't care about his responsibilities as part of the family. Then one day, we got some unexpected news from Mom. Tom called me out of the blue. He said he's thinking of marrying someone and asked if we could give them a wedding gift. He wants $99,000. Mom told Dad and me about this, looking a bit worried because of our finances. Mom mostly stays home except for her part-time job 3 days a week. She usually spends her salary on lunch and shopping with friends, so she doesn't save much. I was surprised that Mom wanted to give Tom so much money, especially since we hadn't heard from him in a long time. Dad was first calm but then got really mad. Why should we give him all that money when he hasn't even talked to us since he left home? He was upset with Mom, who looked unhappy and glanced at me for support. Mom tried to explain, but think about it, Tom's getting married. I want him to have a good life and maybe even give us grandchildren. It's what parents want. Please understand, she said calmly. The main reason I didn't go for a regular job was because of Mom, so it hurt to hear her say those things. Dad was also upset with Mom. Linda stays home to take care of me because you didn't help enough. I've supported Tom a lot, but he's never thanked me. How can you ask for such a big gift for him? That day, there were loud arguments between Mom and Dad. I listened from the next room, worried about Dad's health. Mom always favored my brother and praised him, but she didn't understand why I stayed home to care for Dad. It made me really sad. After Mom left to go out for dinner, Dad said to me, "Linda, thank you for always being here for me." "It's okay, Dad. I've known for a long time that Mom favors Tom. I'm used to it. I know I've asked a lot of you. I wish I could do more to help you. Dad, you've done so much for me. You've supported my education and always encouraged me. If it wasn't for you, I might not have started my online business." My father's smile brought me some comfort, but I couldn't understand why Mom, who had such a caring father, acted so selfishly. And my brother, who hadn't talked to us for years, suddenly asking for a big wedding gift was hard to swallow. But the most shocking thing happened shortly after. One morning, I found my father wasn't moving. I called an ambulance, but it was too late. He had passed away. Many people came to his funeral to pay their respects, showing how loved he was. Normally, the wife would arrange the funeral, but Mom says she was too busy and left it all to me. She was always on her phone, seeming more concerned about that than about Dad's passing. I felt angry and unsupported. I focused on arranging the funeral to give Dad a proper send-off. Then something surprising happened. My brother showed up at the funeral with a woman in a flashy dress. He was dressed casually, which wasn't right for the occasion. Everyone was shocked, but Mom greeted him with a smile. "I'm glad you're here, Tom. Now your father's inheritance will be ours," Mom boldly stated. The atmosphere in the hall changed completely after Mom's sudden statement. Everyone was shocked and confused. Honestly, I don't think Linda should expect any inheritance. She's been at home taking care of Dad, Tom said loudly with a hint of sarcasm. I was surprised and sighed deeply. He must have known about our family situation and Dad's health from Mom. But Mom seemed to ignore the fact that I contributed a lot to our family's finances and whether there was actually any inheritance from Dad, who needed care. Dad used to have a good job, but making such comments at a funeral was disrespectful. The funeral felt gloomy and tense. "Should we leave now, Tom? We'll get the inheritance anyway," Mom said, pulling on his arm. As soon as I saw the woman with my brother, I knew she was his wife. She had a similar vibe to Tom, and I figured she must have a personality like his to marry him. I wished they would leave soon. Surprisingly, even Mom seemed to agree with them. "Shall we go get sushi?" she said, and the three of them left. Other relatives were also surprised. Some spoke out in shock, but I suggested, "Let's stay composed for Dad's sake." I kept my irritation to myself and carried on with the funeral. Returning home, I found a messy dining table with 3 boxes of sushi, likely ordered for delivery. From the living room came the sound of voices and laughter. Mom, Tom, and his wife Jessica were having a good time, drinking. "Hey, you're late, Linda. Can you make some snacks and grab more alcohol?" my brother asked. I was shocked by their insensitivity, especially during Dad's funeral. It seemed they didn't realize their behavior was wrong, even with the shocked looks from other relatives. Mom, who should have corrected them, was joining in their laughter, making me feel justified in staying. I wondered if they would have even bothered with a proper funeral if I wasn't there. So I told them, "There's no inheritance for you." I refused to get more drinks or snacks for them. Tom, now drunk, got upset. "What do you mean, Linda? You've always been at home, causing trouble for Dad. It's only fair we use his assets." Considering that Tom relied on Dad for all his college expenses, I couldn't understand why he felt entitled to Dad's assets. It frustrated me to see him act like he didn't owe Dad anything. "Isn't this house Dad's?" Tom asked. "As the eldest son, it should be mine. Why is Linda, who does nothing all day, living here?" Mom and Tom seemed to agree. The warmth Mom used to have for me was gone. "This house is mine," Tom said firmly. "I want Linda out." His wife didn't seem bothered by this. Mom spoke next. "I feel more comfortable living with my son and his wife, who have done well in life, than with you, Linda." They didn't realize how much I contributed to the house. I felt sad and disappointed. I sighed and decided to speak up. "I'll leave. Please don't ask anything of me anymore." As I packed my things in my room, I heard my sister-in-law mocking me. "She's really poor, don't you think?" They all laughed at me, but I just smiled bitterly to myself. Yes, right now, I might seem like the most miserable one. But there's something they don't know. This house has been legally mine since Dad was alive. He entrusted it to me. Even though Mom still lives here and might say she spent most of her life here, legally, it's mine. However, seeing her cold behavior during Dad's funeral made me think about what to do with the house. I felt tired of our relationship and saw her presence as a burden. Living alone in this big house would be lonely, and maintaining it would be hard, so I decided to sell it. Seeing Mom and my brother's family enjoying my situation without knowing my decision made me feel pity for them. Expecting inheritance from Dad seems ridiculous to me. Before my mom got sick, she had a stable income. But when her health declined, she couldn't work anymore. So she used her savings to hire someone to help her every day. She spent her savings on daily expenses, and even when Dad got sick and needed more care, Mom kept spending like usual, so her savings dwindled. When I realized Dad's savings were gone, I started giving $3,000 each month to help with household expenses. Mom did the housework but wasn't good at managing money. When Mom went shopping, she often bought expensive things impulsively, even if we didn't need them. She didn't pay attention to sales or budgeting. She used the money she earned from her part-time job for her hobbies and fun stuff. She also took more money than needed for daily expenses to enjoy herself. Dad felt bad about it. In the end, the money he saved was spent by Mom. As I prepared to leave the house, I withdrew all the money I had been giving for household expenses. I couldn't bear to let my mom keep using it. The next day, something unexpected happened. "Did you take the household money, Linda?" Mom's voice came through the phone one quiet morning. She sounded surprised and a bit upset. "Mom, what household money?" "Dad's savings. Those were all gone when I checked. Did you forget that you used them up?" I left the ledger on the table. "It shows how you kept taking money from Dad's savings. Dad knew about it too. After his savings ran out, I was the one giving $3,000 every month to support the house." I heard Mom rushing around, probably looking for the ledger I mentioned. Then I heard the living room door open. "Mom, what's going on? Wasn't there supposed to be inheritance after Dad passed? Did you use it all?" My brother sounded angry and disappointed. His wife's voice echoed in the background. "I can't believe this, Mom. Did you really call us back home expecting us to support you financially? That's really harsh." "No, that's not what I meant." It was clear Mom had called them back because of the inheritance. Hearing this, I knew they wouldn't trust her anymore. "We left our stable jobs to come here, expecting to get Dad's inheritance. How are we supposed to live now?" "What, Tom? I didn't know you made such a big decision." This was all news to me too. My brother used to have a good job, but I wasn't really bothered by their decision because it didn't affect me directly. "And what about the $2,700 you've been getting every month?" My brother asked. "Mom, you kept saying Linda wasn't working, right?" Mom suddenly looked at me with shock and guilt. "What? Linda? What's going on?" she asked. I smiled a little and said, "You should look into remote work. These days, you can have a job without leaving home." I never told them about my successful online business. I knew if they knew, they'd start relying on me. Worse, they might interfere with my business. "Please come back. Let's be a family again." Mom's voice was small, as if she hadn't blamed me at all. But I had no intention of going back. "Mom, you just want to rely on my money, right? And about the house. While Dad was alive, I took over ownership because of the property taxes. It's mine now. I don't plan to live there anymore, so I asked my uncle, who runs a real estate agency, to sell it. He was really mad about what happened at Dad's funeral, so if my brother and his family stay there, he'll kick them out. Losing our home was something I never imagined. Mom sounded shocked, and I could hear my brother's voice on the phone asking, "What's going on?" Feeling too overwhelmed to answer my brother's question, I decided to leave everything to Uncle. He promised to handle things and explain everything to Mom and my brother's family, so I trusted him. Goodbye, I'm cutting ties with you and Mom. I won't be using this phone anymore. Farewell. With that, I ended the call. I imagined their surprise and felt a brief sadness. It would be hard for them to find me. I had plans to move abroad, a dream I never shared, not even with Dad. I always wanted to live in a warm, tropical country with a diverse culture. When Mom and my brother's family asked me to leave the house after Dad died, I saw it as the perfect chance to make my dream come true. After being evicted from the house, I immediately started packing and searching for a place abroad. I wanted somewhere quiet near the beach, so I focused on finding the perfect spot. Now I'm living alone in a short-term rental apartment close to the city center with good transportation links, which is great for getting ready for my move abroad. With my brother, his wife, and Mom busy looking for a new place to live after the eviction, they probably haven't had time to think about me. By the time I heard they were cramped in a small apartment, taking up part-time jobs to get by, I was already settling into my new life abroad. My uncle hired a detective agency to discreetly monitor them. They found out my family was struggling financially, still spending beyond their means and even borrowing money from risky lenders. If things continue like this, they might face even more trouble with debt collectors. I've cut ties with them and avoided getting involved. It's unlikely I'll ever see them again after everything that's happened. Hi, I'm Taylor, and I'm 29 years old. I have my own house, which I'm really grateful for, especially with how things are with money in America right now. But my husband doesn't see it the same way. He's often negative and proud, especially because I have a better job than him. He's working a low-paying job at the moment and feels pretty frustrated about it. His mom doesn't help either. She keeps putting him down, comparing him to other people and saying he should be more successful like them. She'll say things like, "Why don't we get a better job? Look at Ricky, he's doing so well. He's becoming the CEO of his company, and you're just a manager at the local grocery store. It's embarrassing." Their conversations usually went like this, and it really got to my husband. It started to hurt his pride a lot. Eventually, he even fibbed and said he owned the house instead of me. "Mom, you don't have to say those things. It's not nice. I'll say what I want. He needs to do better. Mom, please stop." He felt so bad about it that he pretended he bought the house himself. "Yeah, Mom, the house is in my name. I used my money to buy it. I'm a homeowner now." "Wow, that's great. So you'll get a better job now, right?" "It's not that simple, I think. I'm just disappointed you spent so much time in university. You could have gotten a good job like your brother. How will you manage this big house with your low-paying job?" "Taylor will help." "Mom." "Fantastic. Now, as a grown man, you're depending on your wife to earn money and take care of the house. It's disgusting." Even though Gordon was lying about owning the house, I let him have that little victory so his mom would respect him more. But I realize now it was a big mistake. He's used it as an excuse to be rude and disrespectful towards me. Trying to boost his ego and show off to his mom, he'd become extra aggressive and bossy whenever she was around. He'd act like he was in charge, when really it was me who made our nice life possible in our beautiful house. As his wife, I was kind and understanding, so I went along with his dominant behavior to avoid his mother making him feel bad about himself. But one day, things took a turn for the worse. "Taylor, come downstairs now. My mom's here and she wants food and a foot massage." I hurried downstairs to find my mother-in-law and Gordon chatting. "Don't just stand there. Do what you're told." "Of course, dear. It's good to see you're finally acting like a man. I'm surprised Taylor puts up with it, considering she's the breadwinner." "Yes, but I'm the one who owns the house, so she has to respect me." I'd always roll my eyes internally when he said this. It bothered me how entitled he acted, but I knew it was helping him rebuild his relationship with his mother. Gordon used to be really close with her, but ever since he dropped out of college for a get-rich-quick scheme that turned out to be a scam, their relationship suffered. She warned him against it, but he was too stubborn. When it failed, he was broke and too discouraged to go back to school. Since then, he's been trying to mend things with his mother, but she often ignores him and praises his more successful brother, Ricky. Oh, I forgot to mention, Ricky will be joining us for dinner. Come on, Taylor, let's go make some food. He must be tired after working all day at that big company. Ah, fine. Mariana would often complain to me about how useless her son was whenever she had the chance. Sometimes Gordon overheard these talks. She didn't try to hide her gossiping, which just made her more angry and controlling to show that she was in charge of her household. You might be wondering why I put up with all of this for 8 months, but my patience wore thin when this happened. Mariana and I were in the kitchen, and she was once again talking about how disappointed she was in her son. It's just so sad having a loser for a son. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Honestly, you're stronger than me. I might have left him a long time ago if I were you. I never knew how to respond in these moments. I couldn't agree with her, but I also couldn't disagree, so I'd say something vague. A couple of hours passed and Ricky arrived, greeted by a bitter Gordon. Ricky came into the kitchen to say hello. Hey Taylor, hey Mom. Oh my dear, welcome. You've arrived just in time. Let's set the table. We need to talk to Gordon soon because this has gone too far. Talk to Gordon about what? Oh dear, you'll find out soon. Our visit isn't just a friendly one. We're here to discuss something important with you both. I was confused and a little nervous. What could they want to talk about? After setting the table and saying grace, Mariana decided to reveal her true reason for coming over that day. I have something to say. Ricky and I have been discussing this for a while now, and I think it's time we brought it up with you, Gordon. Yeah, Ricky started. You know, your job right now isn't really enough to sustain. Don't sugarcoat it, Ricky. Gordon, what Ricky means is that your job isn't good enough for you to keep this house. Both Gordon and I were shocked. We'd been found out. You can't keep this house, Mariana continued. Well, not under your name, at least. Owning a house is a big responsibility, and we don't want to see you struggle to pay for it. So I think it's best if your older brother takes over the ownership. It'll save you from any future problems. What? Gordon and I exclaimed at the same time. I'm sorry, but that's not happening, Gordon said firmly. Why not? We're trying to help you, Gordy. I'm not a kid anymore, Mom. I can handle owning a house. I don't need you treating me like some charity case. Oh, Gordon, don't be stubborn. Just go get the title deed. Let's discuss it and go over some details. Mariana and Ricky didn't know that I was the real owner of the house. If they saw the title deed, it would cause chaos, and Gordon would be ostracized from his family. But I realized that the lie couldn't last much longer. I exchanged a glance with Gordon. Actually, Mariana, Ricky, thanks for bringing this up. It's time we tell you the truth about everything. What truth? What's going on? Ricky asked. Well, you see, we've been keeping something from you for a while now. Oh yes, the truth is we can't find the title deed, Gordon suddenly blurted out. I was taken aback by Gordon's statement. I had hoped he would come clean about our secret, but instead he chose to hide behind a lie. We must have misplaced it when we were moving stuff around in the attic. You know how cluttered it is up there with all our junk. It's probably somewhere in the mess. Come on, Gordon. You should know better than to lose such important documents, Ricky scolded. Well, what do you expect from your little brother? He's pretty clueless. How he even managed to buy a house is beyond me, Mariana added. I'll search for it. Give me a couple of days to sort everything out. Fine, but this complicates things. We wanted to get this sorted quickly, but okay. Find the papers and let us know as soon as you do, all right? Okay. While everyone else chatted and ate, I stayed silent. I couldn't believe Gordon's choice. This was his chance to be honest, but instead he chose to add another lie. As they say, lies only make things worse the longer you keep them. After Mariana and Ricky left, I decided to confront Gordon about his decision. Seriously, Gordon. What? I had to do it. There was no other option. There's always a choice, Gordon. You've been living this life for so long. The truth will come out eventually. I don't mean you lecturing me, Taylor. I'm a grown man. Then act like it. Take responsibility for your actions. That's more manly than hiding behind a lie. You know what, Taylor? Stop nagging me. You act like you're the queen of everything, bossing me around. But guess what? You're nothing without me. Excuse me? Whose name is on the title deed? Because it's not yours. Well, maybe it should be. I can't believe you just said that to me. How dare you? Listen, you ungrateful, spoiled brat. I'm the man of this house, and I'll do what I want. I don't care if your name is on the title deed. This is my house, and I make the rules. Now, I'm going to get the title deed and change it to my name. It'll take about 5 to 6 weeks. I'll just tell Mom it took longer than expected. Now go get the deed right now. I was speechless. Gordon had never spoken to me like that in our 4 years of marriage. His frustration and need for approval from his mother had led him to lash out at me. But that didn't excuse his behavior. Now I'm someone who believes in getting even. Some call me petty, but I don't care. Eye for an eye. However, I knew that retaliating wouldn't solve anything. It would just escalate into a shouting match with even harsher words exchanged. So instead, I kept my cool and followed his orders. But in my mind, I was brewing a plan to teach him a lesson. I went to our home office and found the deed easily, being the responsible homeowner that I am. Instead of handing it over, I made a photocopy. Of course, it didn't look authentic, just a black and white version without the proper stamps and details. But I had a plan. I slipped the photocopy into Gordon's work bag and hid the real deed in my secret safe that he didn't know about. By the way, I put the deed in your work bag for tomorrow. I know you have to leave early, so I took care of it for you. You'll find it in there. Great. I'll need to contact the title company to start the process. The next day, while I was at work, I got a call from Gordon. Hey babe, you put a photocopy of the title deed in my bag. I need the real one for the process. Oh, did I? My mistake. The guy here won't accept the photocopy, and since your name is on the deed, I think you should be involved in the process too. Unlike you, some of us have demanding jobs that require our full attention. Let's schedule a proper meeting to discuss this. What did you just say to me? Do you need my help or not? I knew I'd angered him, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to let him off the hook easily. He needed to learn a lesson. I was done being accommodating, so I allowed myself to be a little petty and throw some jabs. Especially now, when he needed my help more than ever. Yes, I need your help. Fine, I'll handle everything. Okay, bye. Things were getting tense between Gordon and me because I wasn't putting up with his rude behavior anymore. I was going to make sure he learned his lesson. A week passed and Gordon was on a mission to find that title deed. He searched every nook and cranny of the office, even though he knew it wasn't there. He even braved the cluttered attic, despite knowing it was unlikely to be there. But desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Gordon spent the next week tirelessly searching that attic, even taking time off work to do so. Part of me felt guilty watching him search day after day in vain. But then I remembered all the hurtful things he'd said to me, and I didn't feel as sorry for him anymore. Gordon ignored calls from my mother-in-law and avoided Ricky, knowing he'd missed his deadline by a long shot. Another week passed, and one evening Mariana and Ricky both called me. Hello, dear. How are you? I'm good, thanks. I hope you two are doing well, too. Not really, dear. We've been trying to reach Gordon, but he's been ignoring our calls about the title deed. Oh, I know. He's been dodging your calls. Is everything all right? No, actually, he still hasn't found it. Oh dear, that's not good. Gordon needs to pull himself together. I've been telling him the same thing, but he's not listening to me. See, Ricky, even Taylor has had enough. That's it, we'll come over tomorrow to help him search for the deed. Tell Gordon to take the day off. It's not like he's doing anything important anyway. Mom, I really think we should give him more time. I've waited long enough. Do you know how long these things take? The sooner we get it sorted, the better. Taylor, you make sure Gordon is ready for a long day of searching because I'm tired of waiting. Got it, Mom. But I didn't tell him. I wanted Gordon to face the music. He was already planning to take another day off work to rest, but instead he was greeted by an angry mother and brother. So, you're sleeping instead of finding what needs to be found. Unbelievable. It's not a good look, bro. We took time off to help you, and you're just sleeping. What? What's happening? We told Taylor we'd be coming to help, but it seems like you didn't want us to. No. Taylor didn't say anything to me. Don't blame Taylor. She's been holding things together while you've been MIA. Why weren't you answering our calls? I was just busy. Busy sleeping, it seems. Anyways, get up. We need to start searching. Actually, no, you don't have to search. I have the deed. Everyone turned to look at me. I had been listening in the doorway, and I wasn't going to let Ricky and Mariana waste their time looking for something unnecessary. I decided to come clean and embarrass Gordon for his behavior. Why didn't you tell me they were coming? You know I've been tired from searching. And why didn't you say you have the deed? Because there's something you all need to know. Don't you dare. The truth is, Gordon doesn't own this house. I do. What? What? My name is on the deed, not Gordon's. He's been lying to you all, and I went along with it because I loved him. But his behavior lately made me reconsider, so I decided you all needed to know the truth. Gordon, is this true? No, Mom, she's lying. Lying? Even after being caught? You're unbelievable. I handed the document to Mariana and Ricky. It was the real deed, so they had no reason to doubt it. And there, clear as day, was my name as the owner of the house. You lied to us all this time, Gordon. Really? I don't even know what to say anymore. But I do, Gordon. You're pathetic. Don't try to deny it. You attack me, saying I'm nothing without you, when in reality, you're the one who needs me. Wakey said that. Yes. That day you proposed changing the name on the deed, he said a lot of hurtful things. You know I didn't mean it, Taylor. Why would you do this to me? You're my wife. Oh, I thought I was ungrateful. I thought I was a spoiled brat. Well, this is how ungrateful, spoiled brats act, sweetie. Mom, let me explain. No, I've heard enough, Gordon. You've disappointed me for the last time. You kept up this facade to impress me? You've already let me down. It wouldn't be surprising if you weren't the true owner of this house. But to lie about it for almost a year and mistreat Taylor so much has left a bad taste in my mouth. I can't even look at you. With that, Mariana got up and left, despite Gordon's desperate attempts to stop her. He begged and pleaded, but she was done. Ricky, please, bro. I swear I wasn't trying to. Shut up. I should punch you right now for wasting Mom's time, for wasting my time, and for wasting Taylor's time, effort, love, and energy. This woman endured your foolishness for so long, and you still treated her like garbage. You're crazy. Save it. Don't bother contacting us for a while. Mom needs some time. Ricky left too, leaving just Gordon and me in the house. It was my turn to speak my mind. You know what's funny? You call me ungrateful, but you're the one who's truly ungrateful. You're pathetic and your behavior disgusts me. I'm glad your mother and brother finally saw your true colors. And yeah, you might be a man, but you're not the head of this household. If you want to stay here, you better start respecting me and pulling your weight. Otherwise, you can find somewhere else to be the man. Gordon looked distraught. In no time, he managed to ruin 3 important relationships. That's got to be some kind of record. He shouldn't have underestimated me.